standards in the same folder as the project. Got it? At the root of the project folder. Got it? And we talked about that last class. Remember I told you where to put the file? Now, you can put it wherever you want. Now, scanner, let's see what you scanner, and then we're going to read word by word and try to, we set the letter for the, remember the cheater letter? What's going to be the content for our file, and then we wanted to read it, and every time we put cheater, change it with good guy and print it out, right? Similar to what we did before, but now we're dealing with a file. Now, what happens in Java is that there are certain situations where a file might fail, okay? When reading a file might fail. So Java knows that it's a very, very likely scenario that when you try to read a file, chances are that the file is not going to be there. So Java tells you if you want to deal with files and you want to open a file for reading, that's a possible situation. So what you want to do is be covered for it. So Java tells you you are enforced to use exceptions. Okay? So exceptions are pretty much, exception handling pretty much refers to how do we handle errors. Because what happens if we don't handle errors? If we don't handle errors, if the program gets into an error state, the program simply crashes and doesn't move on. Is that good? Not really. Would you like to go to the ATM, for example, and where it says enter amount, type your name by mistake, and the ATM to crash and not let you do anything else, and keep your card inside and screw up? You wouldn't like that, right?
It happened to me once.
Happened to you once?
Yeah, it gave me the blue screen.
The blue screen up there?
Windows failed. I had to call the ATM and everything was a mission.
It's annoying, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want that to happen. If you put something wrong, you would like the machine to tell you kindly you're being stupid, right? Try this again, right? Right? Something like that, right? A cautious message, right? So that's the thing, the kind of things we don't want to happen, right? We don't want to be calling the ATM people all the time. We would like, if we do something wrong, like you put maybe amount to retrieve, you put Pepito, whatever, you would like to enter a number or enter it again, right? So you would like the program to be able to manage errors, and could be user errors or could be internal errors, the most it can, right? The most it can. Got it? Because otherwise the program crashes and you lose control over it. You would like to have to keep control of the program all the time and the program to keep running, right? So what we do is we use exception handling for that. So you see that try and the catch, see that? So here we say try, catch, and here we specify what kind of exception we might encounter. Got it? Now, if you don't have a file, the exception that you're going to get is the file not found exception. And then here is the name of your object. Professor, does it have to be E? No, you can call it EX, whatever, today, mañana, whatever you want to call it. Right? It's just the name of an object. Your variable. Got it? Now, between these curly braces and this curly brace, you're going to put what you want to do if this exception happens. Meaning, if this error happens, the file is not found, what you want to do. What do you want to do if that happens? For example, I said, you know what, I want to print this message, oh my bad, and print either to a string, which will pretty much do that. The exception will convert it to a string. So it will tell me what the exception is about. Got it? And then you see the last line at the bottom that says, Chris is asking something. Yeah? Since the program didn't crash now, because the exception was handled with that catch, the program can continue. So the last line will be printed. Got it? If we wouldn't have try and catch, the moment it fails, imagine it fails here, right, when trying to open the file, right? Everything below that will be discarded. Then we wouldn't have control over the program anymore. Since now we're putting try and catch, if it fails here, yeah, all of this is going to be ignored. But we're going to catch it here. From here it starts going down all the way and crash, right? But since now we have a catch here, it's going to come here, we're going to catch it, and it's going to continue from here on. Got it? So it gives us control. So let's try this program. I think this program on purpose has an error. I think the file is not in that path, right? So it failed, you see? Now you see that it has K and high? You see K is printed, right? But do you see high? You don't see high, right? Why? Because it crashed right here. When you say scanner SE equal new scanner and you put my file there, you're pretty much saying open this file to use for my scanner. Since the file was not there, was not a system in that path, it failed. And whatever it was after it, like this guy, was ignored. This guy was ignored, everything was ignored until you could catch it here. And then you're printing what you want to do when you catch it, which is pretty much, oh my bad, and then the message of the error, oh my bad, and this Java, your file, whatever, is the error message. Got it? If you want to do, you can use also this. The exception has a method called print stack trace, which will print the error, but it will print the error in red font. That's why I don't like it, because it looks ugly. But you can use that if you want to. And then after that, it continues. The last line of the program is this line, right? Chris is asking something, right? Therefore, you see that message. Got it? So the program is not crashing Andy anymore. Is it clear? Yes? If I run the file, you're going to see what the print stack trace. You see the red thing? This message is coming because of this print stack trace. Got it? Yes? Yes. Now, a couple of questions. Professor, how the heck did you know that the exception that was going to happen was called file not found exception? Oh, because I'm a genius, right? Not really. Time after time I've been dealing with this type of error, so I know that when you don't find a file, that's the exception that happens. Now, chances are that you can have more than one exception. For example, maybe I'm trying to open two files here. If I try to open two files here, is the full good?
No.
Yes, it is still good because both of them can give me the same exception.
Oh, as long as it's the same.
Yeah. When you say file not found exception, imagine I'm trying to open two files. Scanner SE2, new scanner, my file 2, and both of the files are not existent. It doesn't matter. On the first file, it's going to crash, so it's not going to even try to open the second one. Got it? So still, it's fine. Both can be covered with this because both will have this problem. Got it? But are those the only possible type of exceptions that we can get?
No.
This is a typical error also. Int n, for example, and you do this. Integer that parse int, and I put here say Osmani. Right? Can I convert Osmani into an integer? No? Osmani's height or something? 7 feet or something? It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense, right? So here we also get an exception because we're trying to convert into an integer something that is a string. If this were like 25, then it makes sense, right? It becomes 25, right? For n. But I'm putting a string that cannot be converted into a number. So this gives me an exception. This exception is called number format exception, like one of you guys said, right? So what would happen if I try to do this here, for example? I do this. What would happen? The program does still work. You know why? Because it's failing here. Right? So whatever is after is being ignored. So you're not really noticing that there is an error below. Now what would happen if it doesn't fail on that line? Like if I put this, now it will be good, right? The file exists at that location, right? It should fail now because of Osmani, right? Look, before we were printing, Chris is asking something because we could capture the error and get to the end, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Check it out now. Look, I'm printing K, I'm printing high because this scanner could open the file, right? Now, Osmani created a problem, right? You see all these lines are ignored. Can the catch capture the error?
No.
No, because the catch is saying I can capture any error that is related to file not found exception. So, the catch was not useful. So that error was never caught. Therefore, the whole program crashed. Therefore, the last line that says Chris is asking something never showed up. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what do you do when you have a piece of code that can generate more than one exception? You can have more than one catch. So you can say catch, file not found exception, and on the next line you could write catch, number format exception. And here I know the exception in type, you see? When it crashes, it tells me what kind of exception I need. You see, it's telling me right there.
Yeah.
Got it? So we're going to see a program where we can put multiple catches. Okay? See how it behaves. I'm gonna delete it for a sec.
Professor, you have to catch the error in the same code, and you can't create a different type of class where you cover all the errors. You can't redirect the error to another class.
What
I
do
know it
you
wouldn't be efficient, but just, so you have to catch the error, what I'm saying within the same class, or can I redirect the errors to another class and work off of there?
You can create your own class exception, okay? As you learn inheritance, you're gonna get more tools, but you can create your own type of exception, like you can call it, for example, when you're making an application for your Android phone, whatever. So you can call my app Android exception. That's the way you wanna call your exception, right? And you can put inside that exception how you wanna treat it, what you wanna do. So that will be a separate class. And what you have to do is just use it there. And soon you're gonna see that you don't have to put exception for all the types of exception. You can just put one. And you're gonna see how you can put everything in just condensed form. Okay? So far so good, guys? So let's see if I have a good example of the other one. I think I have some examples here. You guys copy the website I gave you last class? No?
Yes.
You should have. It's gonna be useful. It's gonna be useful. Actually, let me do it right here, okay? So, you see the problem here, right? So a solution was like we said to do this, right? Catch. What kind of exception I need? Number one. So this right here, right? So I can just copy this and put it. I'll just type number format exception, right? Let's call it E2. Cannot be called E because it has E above, right? Call it E2, for example, right? Here you can do whatever you want. Error with the number conversion. And you can put E that E2, right? That gets message. That gets message also gives you information from the error. Okay? So now if I run my program, I'm covered for both exceptions, right? You see? Hey, hi. Now it failed because it tried to convert money, right? Error with a number conversion for input string of money. You see, it's giving me that's the error message. You see? And now Chris is asking something. You see now the program finishes good. Got it?
Yep.
Yes? Now, there are kind of little problems here. One of the little problems that we have is that we don't know what kind of exception we are going to get in a piece of code until it actually fails, right? Or we have a lot of experience and we more or less predict what might happen, right? But sometimes we are not as lucky, are we? Now, the other problem is that if my piece of code that is between the try and the catch has a bunch of possible errors, I'm going to have multiple catch, everything, right? For every possible type of error, right? Quite annoying, right? What if I want to treat them all the same? Simply say, you did something wrong, and that's it. Or you did something wrong and put a message. You did something wrong, and this is what you did wrong. It would be nice, right? Yes. So, we're going to try to generalize things. And this is like a nice introduction to inheritance. We're going to try to generalize things. If I have, for example, a bathroom, okay? And I want to say, this bathroom is good for adult women. And then, so imagine if somebody's checking at the door, who's coming in. If somebody comes in, you have to check if it's an adult woman. If it's not an adult woman, it's going to ask, are you an adult man? Are you a girl, a little girl? Are you a little boy? Etc., etc. You understand what I'm saying? And allow these 4 people. Wouldn't it be easier to just say human? If you're a human, come in. Wouldn't it be easier? You can generalize, right? Instead of checking for each of them. Regardless if you're a little boy, a little girl, an adult man, or an adult woman, you're still a human being. So you can just generalize, say, as long as you're a person, I'll let you in. Right? Correct? So we're going to try to do something like that. In that case, when I said any human, that means I'm generalizing, right? I'm putting all the possible different types of combinations that I had, little boy, little girl, adult man, adult woman, putting all of these different types of human beings, putting into one generic type, human, and that's it, right? So when we create our exceptions, or when we use all the types of exceptions that Java provides, there is some generic type of exception for everybody. That is called exception, just exception. So what I can do, instead of writing all this piece of Yankee code here, all this stuff here, I can just say this. Catch, just exception. So try all this code. Try all this code and catch the exception. So here I can write something like, you did something wrong. Or something wrong happened, because maybe it's not the user's fault, maybe it's the system, the path was not entered correctly or whatever, right? Something went wrong. Now, and then I can print what the error is. I can say error, colon, for example. And then here I can put e.getMessage, for example. Got it?
Yep.
Now, when I do this, I'm kind of generalizing all possible exceptions. So all I'm saying is, I don't care whatever happens between these two yellow curly braces, the portion of the try, right? But whatever happens there, I'm going to capture with this exception. So whatever exception happens there, I'm going to capture here, print this message, and print what the error was. Got it? Now, if you ask me, Professor, what happens if I have, for example, this? What if I do this here? En equals integral parse in, I'm going to convert now, say. What happens there?
And crash.
Will it crash?
It's
We call it N2 because it's underlined because I'm using the string variable.
not in the
What
track.
happens?
It's gonna crash.
Will this program crash or work?
Crash.
It's going to
Not in
crash.
the track.
Catch
You
it.
know what? Good.
It's out of the track.
I'm using the exception to capture any kind of exception. I said that, right? But this catch is going to capture anything that happens within that try. Correct? So everything that is between here and here is covered. But I put this line outside. So I'm not covered for this line. I will still make my program crash. Got it? Yes.
Can you put it outside or no?
Sorry?
The exception, can you put it outside?
Good question. There is something called, normally the try and catch has to go inside a method. It has to always go inside a method. Now, if you don't want to worry about having the try and catch and just make your program say, my program can handle exceptions, you can write something here called throws exception. If you write that line on top, you don't have to put try and catch inside the method. But whoever calls this method has to put a try and a catch, because this method can kick an exception. Is that clear?
No.
No? I like honesty. That's good. Okay. Forget about that throws exception for 1 second. Let me clarify first, okay? So I put a try and a catch, right? Whatever is between that try, between that curly brace and this curly brace, whatever is here, can cause an exception. But I'm covering for any kind of those exceptions with this catch, right? So I'm saying for whatever happens between here and here, I will handle that inside this catch, right? Now, he asked me, can I put a try outside the method? No, the try has to always go inside the method. So you gotta watch out. Most likely, if you want to be like covered for everything, you would put everything between the try and catch, right? That would be extremely safe, right? If you're paranoid about safety, right? Now, another option is that maybe you don't want to be worried about try and catch in this method because there is somebody that is capturing all exceptions outside. But this method can provoke an exception, right? So what you can do is put throws exception on the top, okay? And then you don't have to do any try and catch here. But what happens? This exception is vulnerable of causing an exception. Sorry, this method is vulnerable of causing an exception, right? Since you put throws exception, whoever wants to use your method, he will have to call your method within try and catch. Make sense?
So he has to create the try and catch.
Correct. So imagine, no, if I have an eraser. Imagine I do this. I have class X, okay? And I have method M, and I put here throws exception. In my public, string, whatever you want to do, okay? Now I write a bunch of code here. I don't have to put try and catch here, because when I put throws exception, pretty much I'm saying my method can throw an exception, but I don't care if it happens. whoever wants to use my method, he has to worry about dealing with that. Make sense? It's a more comfortable situation, right? You're being lazy, right? Right?
Yeah.
But you're leaving the responsibility for whoever wants to use your method M. So here, I have another method, public void M2, for example, whatever parameters, and I want to call M for whatever reason. This M can throw an exception, right? So I'll have to put here try and catch. Got it? Got it?
Yep.
So pretty much it is. If you don't put it here, you have to put it in whoever is using it. But the try and catch have to be there if you want your program to be, like to not crash after an exception, to continue going on. Yes, Carlos, right?
Yeah, so like exception E, that class, is that what's really going on? Is it just throwing an exception?
Pretty much if you put that, you're saying it's going to throw an exception, that's it.
But I'm saying like class E has something in its structure where it says something like throws exception, like the actual class exception.
Class E.
No, I'm talking about class exception.
Except, okay.
Inside that class, is there a method or something that says something like throws exception in there?
It's not there, it's in the events. The class exception has methods such as get message to string. The class exception only carries is the information from the exception. But there are event handlers that are running behind the scenes that are the ones that are detecting the exception when they happen. Got it? Is this clear, guys?
Yeah.
So if you put throw exception, and you don't have to try and catch, will it still print at the end, Chris is asking for something?
No.
And you just ignore the errors? Or
In
will
this
it
case,
crash?
it's kind of complex because in this case we're playing with the main, right?
Okay.
So nobody's calling the main because the main is the main, right?
Okay, yeah.
So in this case, it would simply crash. Got it? So let's do something. Let's forget about the throws exception for 1 sec. I'm going to finish this program and then I'm going to show you one program with the throws exception so that you see how it works, okay?
All right.
So maybe that helps. So let's forget about this. See, man, bring more doubt than knowledge here.
Oh, man, I'm regretting answering the question.
No, that's cool, that's cool. Is it clear, guys?
Yeah.
So now any kind of exception can be covered, right? Okay, I know that today I won't go into Java too much here. I know that for a fact. So, let me show you what I mean.
Like
Class
more than
X,
a month
whatever.
ago,
Okay, I'm gonna
started
have
the
random class. So I'll do a method public void do something. And say I know that this method can provoke an error. On purpose, I'll do this. And I'll put here, say, Carlos, whatever. Now, I'll do this. Because I know that here, I'll do many things. I'll do a bunch of things that can cause exceptions, but I don't want to worry about exceptions in this method. Let's leave that responsibility for whoever wants to use my method N, or do something. Got it? So, here, whatever. Right? So if I crash, it will always be crash here, right? Correct? So let me do something like, this is void, start working. Now, if I want to call the method to do something, look at what happens. It says, report exception. An exception must be called or declared to be shown. Pretty much it's telling me, whoever created this method do something, said that this method can provoke an exception. So if you want to use it, watch out and capture it between a try and a catch. That's what it's telling me. Got it? You see?
Did you have that one?
Sorry?
And I'll always say like that. I mean, I know it's wrong now, but they would always alert the user that instead of trying to catch it because
Correct.
it's throwing.
Correct. Correct. So when you say throws exception, pretty much I'm saying this method is not safe. This method does something, but it can also crash. It can make your whole program crash. So if you don't want to make your whole program crash, you better watch out. And whenever you want to use me, put me in a try and catch because otherwise I can make your whole program crash. Got it? Is that clear? So if a method start working, I want to do something. I'll have to put this into a try. Here, catch.
Could you have just had try working through an exception as well?
Sorry?
Could you have just had the method start working through an exception?
Just a method.
start working,
Uh-huh.
could you have right after start working throws exception?
Good question, good question. Let me go over that. Yes, right? Good guess. Okay, so you understand what's going on, right? Here, maybe you want to do something else here. And after this, you want to keep doing something else like system out, continue on, start working. Whatever. So your program can continue, right? Now, if you didn't have that try and catch, before going over Carlos' questions, if you didn't have that try and catch here, what would happen?
Crash.
That after it happens here, your whole method start working with crash. And consequently, your whole program will crash, right? And your program will stop there. So things such as this line that says continue and start working wouldn't appear ever. Got it? Got it? Now, Carlos is asking me, what happens if these throws start working is at the same time also capable of throwing an exception? Do I have to put a try and catch? Not anymore.
It depends on somebody else's problem.
Because you're pretty much saying, yes, again, you're leaving it to somebody else, right? Right? So you're putting the hot potato into somebody else, right? That's the idea, got it? So the first method can provoke an exception, right? The second guy says, you know what, I'm gonna use that method, and I know that method can provoke an exception, so you know what? Like Pontius Pilate said, I will wash my hands, I'll put throws exception, whoever wants to use me, screw him, right?
But that's not the right way.
It all depends on what your needs are. If sometimes you might say it's not the right way because it doesn't sound like ethic, right? But it's not about that. What happens is that sometimes in an organization you're working, imagine you're a group of 10 developers, right? You want to keep a standardization. So you want to make sure that all the exceptions are handled the same way with the same messages. So you might in charge this guy, for example, say, you are going to be in charge of managing all possible exceptions. Okay? So you don't want to catch an exception and handle your own way because maybe he's the one that has the standard. So you just say throws, and let's have him be in charge of handling all the possible exceptions.
So he's
So
the one that
you
takes
leave it to
care
him.
of it.
You leave it to him.
But
Yeah.
they don't really do that in big companies. They don't really hire one person to throw exceptions and another person to do the programming. The same person that does the programming is the one that does the full work.
It depends on what kind of module you're working on. It all depends on what kind of module you're working on. It all depends on that. Most of the times, yes, you have to handle your own exceptions, but you have the flexibility of doing that. Because maybe what happens is that there is one, maybe the exceptions are handled only at the main level, for example. Imagine only the main is where you want to handle the try and catch. Maybe that's a standard from the company. Only the program that starts the whole thing has to be the one trying and capturing exceptions. So whoever is building classes for the main to use, it doesn't matter if you don't capture the exception because the main is going to have a try and catch. So if you put something with throws, it's going to be able to capture it. Got it?
Yep.
And I'll show you that right now. For example, these two methods are sensible, provoking exceptions, right? And I can put something even crazy here. I can do something like this. Make my program even be more stupid. Integer parsing, Taylor link. So the first program is going to crash, right? The first method is going to crash, right? The second method is going to crash even more, right? Right? But the second method is going to crash just on the do something, just on there. It's not going to even look down because on do something is going to crash and it's going to get out, right? Now let's see. Here for my main, actually this is simple, but let me create a main class. So here my main, I can say, you know what? Main with main covering everything. Main covering everything. So here I can do this. Look. I'm very paranoid about security. I can do this. Try. Catch. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust my own shadow. So I'll be very careful. So here I'm handling the exception, right? Correct? Okay, so I will put everything within the try and catch. So here I'm going to say x object 1 equal new x. Got it? And here I can say object 1 dot Now the do something was just throwing exception randomly, right? But here I'm covering everything. So here I can say, for example, I continue even if I crashed before, right? Because obviously I can continue even if I crashed before because I put a try and catch before, right? If I run this little program, you see? I create my object that do something. Obviously when it was declared it says throws exception blind, right? And nobody cared about dealing with that error, right? But here I'm dealing with that error because since I put that do something between try and catch, this guy is gonna boom, kick, fire an exception, right? I'm gonna capture it here and I'm gonna print what the error was and then continue. Got it? Yes? And it's still crash, right? Got it? Even if I call the other method, I call it start working, right? So this kind of work also can make your development much faster. Why? Because if you know that that's the main where all objects are being used is going to be in charge of taking care of all the possible exceptions with try and catch, you can disregard exceptions. Just call methods as you need and put throws exception on the top and leave the responsibility for whoever wants to use them. Simple. Right? So all objects can be declared without try and catch. Now whoever wants to use any object, that person has to watch out and put try and catch. Got it? And even more importantly, you don't even have to worry much. You know why? Because the minute that you put throws exception on the method, whoever wants to use that method without putting a try and catch, Java is going to be after him and going to tell him, you're wrong. It's going to underline it. Like, remember you underlined for me before? Like, if I don't put try and catch here, check it out. Imagine if somebody tells me, use class X to create your objects. Object X. And I create my object, right? Correct? And somebody tells me, you know what, call the method. Okay, say I want to do something or start working. You see, the minute I want to use it, Java underlines it for me and gives me the message. Pretty much telling me, this method throws an unreported exception. You have to capture it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not going to let me work with an object that does not handle exceptions. Now, what would happen if I put just in the main, I put throws exception? What if I am lazy and say, you know what, I don't want to worry about it.
Just do the problem to somebody else.
If I do this, pretty much I'm saying, you know what, I don't give a damn. If I crash, I crash. Not a good idea, right? But, you know, I've used that sometimes. You might say, were you stupid or something? You know why I use it sometimes? Because sometimes I just want to test the functionality of a class fast. And I'm just going to provide good input. On purpose, good input, just to see how it works. Obviously, if it's going to be a work on deployment, right, on an environment, I'm not going to leave it like that. They will cut my head, right? Yeah. But just for testing, for being quick, you can do that. Just to know how things work fast, right? So clear exceptions, better? Yes? If I run it, it's going to crash. You will never see the message, I continue. You never continue because it all proved. Correct, it all died. It died on the second line there, where it says object X do something, it died right there because the do something throw an exception. He expected this guy to capture it, to try and catch. He never tried. He said throws exception. He threw it to somebody else, but nobody else captured because he was the guy starting. So, died. Got it? Clear? Yes?
Yep.
So clear with exceptions, guys? Exceptions is a key class. Normally in Java 1, people don't put too much emphasis on exception. Well, I see that there was not much emphasis on anything, but anyway. There was supposed to be some emphasis on exception, a little bit at least, okay? Is that clear, guys? Yes? So, I think I don't need to write this example. I'll just show you what it is about. It's very similar to the one above, you see? I have a try, I'm reading from a file, C has next. I'm trying to read each number. Imagine it's a file full of numbers, okay? And then printing each number, right? Separated by a comma. What's the problem with this code? That if the file is perfect, there are two possible problems with this file. First, the file might not be there, right? The path might be wrong. The second problem is that the file might be indeed there, but the numbers are like this. Here I have Pepito. Yeah, but here 29. So these numbers can be converted with next int easily, right? Into an integer, right? This is next int, good, right? But the moment I do next int on this guy, boom, crash. Got it? So this program can crash either here when trying to open the file, or either here when doing next int and having an invalid content. Is that clear? Right? So first I said the first exception is file not found exception. The second exception is input mismatch exception. I can do two catches, or I can just put one exception. Same example as before, so I'm not writing the code. It's the same thing.
Now, when you have e.toString, it tells you which exception it was.
Yeah, it's going to give you a more detailed error. You can do e.toString or e.message or just e. Whatever you prefer.
There's really no point in putting two separate.
Yeah, the toString, remember, the toString you don't have to put two. No, you don't have to, there's no point in putting both of them. Normally you put one of them. I just put that to show you everything.
How come the next int fail?
Because if your file contains, I wrote, imagine this is your file. Your file contains 5, then a space, then 7, and then Pepito, for example, and then 29. So if you read 5 with next int, good, right? Gets assigned into n. Then you read 7, gets assigned with next int, gets assigned into n, right? But the third time you do next int, you're trying to read the next chunk, which is Pepito. So it would fail. So it will fail, crash here, get you out, and you're going to capture here or there. And whatever is left of the file, you're going to ignore. Got it? Yes, Darren?
Is there any way, instead of just displaying a message, that you
Sorry?
could skip that, instead of just displaying a message, is there any way that with the catch you can just,
Continue reading the file?
exactly ignore it?
That's a good question, Darren. That's a typical question. Do you understand what Darren just asked me? I told you guys that that program would crash if I put 5, 7, and then Pepito crashes, and then whatever is left, you're not going to read it, right? So Darren is asking me, what if I wanted to keep on reading? Is there a way to continue reading the rest of the file?
Because the system.out.println just
Continue, so I have to put in a loop or something, right? Is that what you're saying, Darren? So that's just should be something you do, right, guys? I should do it, right? Should I? If I want, I don't want it, man. Don't worry. I don't know if I have time, so let me see if I'll try to do it, okay, guys? If I have time, let me see if we can do it. Today is the last class of Java 1. Exceptions is the last topic of Java 1, okay, guys? So you are supposed to read the masters of Java 1 now. That laugh sounds very optimistic, right? Thank God for Friday. That's the spirit. Be happy about programming, right? You're going to have a lot of time to cry later, don't worry. That's what I mean, right? Do you really want to show an error every time something goes wrong? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes you just want to continue moving on without informing the user that something went wrong. Like in this case, for example, maybe you don't want to inform that something went wrong. You just want to keep reading the file, right? Ignoring the wrong input, right? So you can just simply don't put anything there. Like that. Got it? But you gotta have a catch because otherwise it's gonna complain. You cannot have a try without a catch. It's like you cannot have an else without an if, right? So okay. How could I do it, guys? Any ideas? What do we need to do?
Put the whole try.
Yeah, on top of the try.
While has an X. Oh no, you already had that. Wait.
This is one suggestion that initially you told me. While true, whatever, right? While true, whatever. But that would mean that every time something crashes, I have to open the file again. It will put me back to the beginning of the file. I don't want that. I don't want that, right? Got it?
Can you put it inside it?
Hold on. Before anything, do you understand what happens if I put a while there, all of you? If I put a while there and something crashes here, I'll go back to the while, I'll get inside the try, and I'll try to open the file again, and I'll move to the beginning of the file. That's
Right.
not what I want. I want to keep going, right?
So right after that,
So, how many times do I have to open the file?
one.
Just once, right?
Right.
So why not put that inside the try and catch itself? Just that. Why not put that piece inside a try and catch? Because that piece is vulnerable of an exception, right?
Right.
Just put that piece that opens a file inside a try and catch. Just that piece. And then have another try and catch for the while. Got it?
Yeah.
So something like this. Can I have more than one try and catch? You can try and catch whatever you want, many times as you want. You enjoy trying and catching? Just keep going. So for example, here you can say something like wrong fix it. Right? Now here, this piece can also if I am here, it's because of what?
Catch an error.
So the file was opened successfully, right? Or because something went wrong and I continued.
Right.
Right? If I am here where it's blinking, what does that mean? That everything went successfully, the file was open, exception was never caught, and I continued, right? Or that the path was wrong, I came here into the exception, and then I'm here. So would it be right to try to open the file?
No,
You can do
It would be stupid, right?
like if not, no.
What can we do?
When you check on the file, not no.
Yes.
Can you just check if the file is not no?
Why don't we do this? Check it out. We can do that. We were here, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we put a try in here and a try? Can you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
No, I don't.
Here I can put, this exception is just to handle, for example, the file. Wrong file, wrong. Right? Okay. Here, I'll put this inside a try. I can put here input mismatch or simply exception. Exception E2. I don't want to do anything, right? Just keep moving, right? Now this will capture any error when reading each number, right? And if something goes wrong, I want to keep going, right? So this guy should be inside a while.
Yeah.
So what I could actually do is do this, right? Put the file path next here and try and catch only when reading each number. Got it? That pretty much does the trick, right? I read a file, if something goes wrong, I come here, right? Because this try is for the file, right? Then I say, well, if I am here, it's because I never crash here, right? If I am on this line, it's because I could open the file successfully, right? So when there is something to read, I'll try getting in the number and converting into a string, into a number, right? And print it out if that's successful. If I am wrong here, I will come to the catch here, right? And then keep going, but there is this curly brace that tells me go back to the while. If there is something to read, I'll go to the next number to read. Got it?
Okay.
Clear? So I'm going to call it get numbers at PHP. Let me see if I can run this code quickly. So it's just here at this point, guys, it's just a matter of playing with just manipulation, code manipulation. That's all we have there. Numbers. So say 23, 45, 22, whatever. There is
going back to the beginning of the file, even though it's not opening the file yet?
You should be. Okay, so it's here, what's happening? Oh, got it. So let's see what's happening. There it is.
It's because you have that catch inside.
What's happening next? Why is it snow?
There's no way to stop it.
Why?
Should you have the try
It's a
catch
while.
outside the loop out inside that try catch instead of outside? So like you have try,
Have to put it after the try. Right.
you have the loop inside the try. Like you would have try.
What time is it? I think I should leave this as homework. Let's do something. This is not a hard error, guys. It's a very easy error to fix. Okay?
Is it, when it receives the error, is it moving the cursor or is it trying the same, is it stuck at the letter?
Let's see what happens if you just do that. Let's put a break so that you get out on the first error. Oh, I got running the old one. Error no. Why is that?
When you're using past next, doesn't it, I mean, I could be wrong, but, and I'm probably using the wrong words, but, for has next, for the index to move to the next, it has to, like, be successful, and, but since we're going to the exception, it's not giving a successful call, so it's like
It's never reached
stuck
the end.
on that one, so like, theoretically, we thought it would just move forward, you know, but in this case, it's like stuck in this loop where the index is still on P for Pepito until it has next receives a successful call.
Okay.
I mean,
How
that's
could
what I'm,
you fix this code to make it work? That's the key thing here. You don't try, guys. You don't try. Just code manipulation.
And you just have the loop inside that try instead.
Sorry?
Have the loop which says has next inside that try block instead. You're just trying to.
That would mean that it crashes and you get out. You wouldn't go back to the. Got it? So I'm going to leave this for homework. Let me do something because I don't want to keep solving everything, guys. I didn't do all the exception handling for you. Next class, I should start with Java 2 already, right? But I'm going to give you some break. I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to do one more exercise of exceptions now so that you have even more knowledge so that you can cover this. I'll do something nice for you. If you solve this problem and you manage to be able to read, pass the Pepito problem, okay? If you manage to do that for next class and you bring me a printed copy here, and I'll make sure it works. I'll pick randomly any of those two programs from there randomly, and it works. I'll give you 2 extra points for your exam or whatever you want. Sounds fair? So you feel encouraged to solve this problem. This problem is not hard. I could solve it in a minute, but I want to give it time for you guys to think about it, okay? To digest the concept. So sounds fair? Points for your midterm? And I'm going to solve another one, okay? With exceptions. So you have another idea.
There's a midterm?
I guess there is now.
A typical problem is that sometimes you ask for